Cassandra Westfield stands alone on a Colorado ridge at dawn. 8 shapes lie motionless in the snow below, all wearing United States military patches. Her hands are covered in blood that isn't hers. The Remington 700 rifle across her lap sits empty, barrel still warm despite the 15-degree cold. The radio at her feet crackles to life. "Ghost, this is command. Confirm kills. Ghost, respond." She doesn't reach for it, doesn't move, just stares at the bodies and the rifle that's seen 40 years of war, wondering if Colonel Victoria Brennan would be proud or ashamed of what just happened here. She's done taking orders from people who send good soldiers to die for bad reasons. The wind picks up, carrying snow across the ridge in horizontal sheets. Somewhere in the valley below, the people who wanted her dead are realizing they failed. Again. But to understand how she got here, you have to go back. Not just 48 hours, 40 years. East Germany, 1983. West Berlin Checkpoint Observation Post. 28-year-old Army intelligence officer Victoria Brennan lies prone on a rooftop, 800 meters from the Soviet patrol route. The Remington 700 in her hands doesn't have thermal optics or ballistic computers, just cold steel, quality glass, and a woman who's learned to read wind by watching smoke from distant chimneys. Below, an East German defector runs for the checkpoint. He's carrying documents that could change the Cold War. The Soviets know it. Their officer raises his pistol, finger tightening on the trigger. Vic's crosshairs settle on his chest. She exhales halfway, holds at the natural respiratory pause, squeezes. The Remington cracks. 800 meters away, the Soviet officer drops. The defector crosses into West Berlin. The documents make it to Washington. No one ever knows Victoria Brennan pulled that trigger. That's how intelligence work functions. Silent, professional, effective. She cleans the rifle that night in her quarters, running an oilcloth down the barrel. A captain stops in the doorway. "That was one hell of a shot, Lieutenant." "It was just physics and patience, sir. New rifles have electronics that can make that shot easier." Vic looks up, eyes hard. Electronics freeze at altitude. Batteries die in the cold. When new tech fails, old steel endures. The captain nods and leaves. Vic goes back to cleaning the rifle, knowing she'll carry it for the next 40 years. Present day. Fort Carson Briefing Room, Colorado. The room smells like burnt coffee and the particular staleness that comes from too many bodies in too small a space. 23 personnel packed around a scarred wooden table, watching Captain Garrett Hayes stand at the head with a laminated map and an expression that makes the younger soldiers shift in their seats. 28-year-old Cassandra Westfield sits near the back, her Remington 700 leaning against the wall beside her. The rifle's older than half the people in this room. The stock shows 40 years of wear, wood darkened by hand oil and weather, metal surfaces carrying the faint scratches of 1,000 operations across 2 generations of warriors. In the corner, retired Colonel Victoria Brennan sits with the stillness of someone who's learned patience in the worst places. At 68, her hair's gone silver, but her eyes haven't lost the edge that made her one of the Cold War's most effective intelligence operatives. She's here as a special consultant, which everyone knows means the mission's complicated enough that they need someone who's seen things that don't make it into official reports. Hayes clears his throat. Mission parameters are straightforward. Civilian medical helicopter went down 18 hours ago in the Rockies. 3 crew aboard. Storm system moving in. We extract before conditions deteriorate. Cass watches his eyes. He's reading from a tablet, but he's read this brief 3 times already. That's not protocol. His left hand trembles slightly when he touches the screen. A micro movement most people miss. Cass doesn't miss anything. Staff Sergeant Wade Sullivan sits 4 chairs down, arms crossed, skepticism worn like body armor. "Captain, there's no civilian traffic authorized in that sector. What was a medevac doing up there?" Hayes doesn't look up from the tablet. Wrong place, wrong weather. Medical transport that didn't wait for clearance. Sullivan grunts. Doesn't buy it. Neither does Cass. Medical helicopters don't fly into storm systems. They follow protocols. They wait for clearance. This brief smells wrong from the first sentence, and Cass's instincts have kept her alive through situations that killed people with better training and worse judgment. The rest of the team filters in. Dr. Sloan Merrick, combat medic, 31 years old, with the particular calm that comes from 3 tours stopping arterial bleeding while mortars walk the perimeter. 4 scouts, whose names Cass hasn't bothered learning yet. And Private Finn Calloway, 22, fresh enough that his gear still has factory creases and his boots haven't yet molded to his feet. The kid carries extra batteries, extra rope, extra everything, with the optimism that winter kills fast in the mountains. Hayes continues, voice taking on the rehearsed quality of someone reciting lines. Communications protocol is strict. Radio silence unless you use emergency code Shepherd. No air support available due to weather restrictions. We're autonomous until extraction at 0600 tomorrow. Cass's fingers drum once against her thigh. Shepherd, 15 years in the field. Contractor work across 4 continents. Missions in places the government denies exist. And she's never heard that designation. She glances at Vic. The colonel's face shows nothing, but her jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. Sullivan leans forward, chair creaking. Captain, Shepherd protocol isn't in standard operations manual. That's not regular designation. It's command's call, Hayes says. Too fast, too defensive. We follow orders. Hayes's encrypted phone buzzes. Not his regular military-issue device. A civilian model tucked inside his jacket pocket. Cass sees it because she's watching for exactly that kind of tell. Hayes glances at the screen. His face goes pale for just a heartbeat, color draining like someone opened a valve. Then he silences it and slips it back inside his coat. His hand shakes worse than before. The equipment sergeant wheels in a cart stacked with black cases. New rifles, M110A1 SAS models, modular rails gleaming under fluorescent light, digital optics promising thermal imaging and ballistic computation, and a dozen features that look impressive in catalogs and jam when the temperature drops below freezing. Sullivan whistles low. About damn time. These beauties will drop a target at 800 meters in a crosswind. If the battery doesn't die first, Cass says quietly. Sullivan shoots her a look. What's that supposed to mean? Means I've seen those optics fog the first time someone breathes on them. Means the gas system freezes when it hits single digits. Means you'll be manually cycling the action like it's 1945. The sergeant starts distributing rifles. When he reaches Cass, she doesn't move, just sits with her hands folded, watching the new weapons being handed out like party favors. Westfield, Hayes says, your rifle. She looks at the Remington against the wall. The stock shows the hand-worn groove where her cheek has pressed it 10,000 times, where Vic's cheek pressed it 10,000 times before that. The woods darkened with oil and sweat and the passage of decades. The scope is an old loophole, manually adjusted, no batteries to die when the mercury drops, no LED screen to crack, no firmware to corrupt. The bolt handle's been replaced twice, polished smooth by gloved fingers, working it in conditions that turn spit to ice before it hit the ground. I'm keeping mine, Cass says. The room goes quiet, 8 pairs of eyes on her. Sullivan snorts. That museum piece belongs in a display case, Westfield. When you're working that bolt with frozen fingers while I'm putting rounds downrange semi-auto, you'll regret it. She meets his eyes, flat, no heat, just the dead calm of someone who's proven herself 100 times and doesn't need to prove it again. It saved my life 15 years through conditions that killed rifles like yours, so I'm keeping it. Hayes raises a hand before Sullivan can respond. The captain looks at Cass, then at the Remington, then back at Cass. He knows her file, knows she was a Marine Scout sniper before going contractor, knows her record's cleaner than his. One mission, Hayes says finally. After this, we discuss compliance with standard loadout. Cass nods once. She's heard that promise before. Understood, Captain. Calloway stares at the Remington like it's a religious artifact. How old is it, ma'am? Older than you, Cass says, and it still works when everything else fails. Remember that when your fancy optic fogs up and you're trying to clear your action with fingers you can't feel anymore. Hayes folds the map. His hands are steadier now, but he avoids eye contact with Cass. We move in 30, full winter kit. Storm hits in 12 hours. We find the crew, stabilize them, extract before we're buried. Check your gear. Double-check cold weather protocols. Frostbite kills as sure as bullets. They disperse. Hayes moves to the far corner, away from the others. Pulls out that phone again. He types fast, thumbs moving with the frantic energy of a man under pressure. Then he stops, reads something on the screen. His face goes gray like old snow. He deletes whatever message he'd been composing. Types something else, deletes that too. Finally just pockets the device and stands there staring at the wall. Cass files that away. In her experience, officers who use burner phones and delete messages are either running an affair or running something worse. Hayes doesn't strike her as the affair type. Vic appears beside her, moving with the silence that made her an effective intelligence operative. "Walk with me," the colonel says quietly. They step into the hallway. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. The building's empty this time of morning, just the two of them and the sound of boots on linoleum. "That call sign," Vic says. "Shepard. I've heard it once before." Cass waits. 1986, Berlin. CIA intercepted Soviet communications. Shepard protocol meant sanitize witnesses, clean up loose ends. No survivors. You think? I think someone's lying. Question is whether Hayes knows he's part of the lie, or if he's just a useful tool. They stop at a window overlooking the parking lot. Snow's already starting, light flakes that drift more than fall. Vic turns to face her. At 68, the colonel's lost some speed, but none of the edge. Her eyes hold the weight of 40 years watching people die for causes both noble and corrupt. "If this goes wrong," Vic says, "you run. You survive. That's an order from your mentor, not the Corps." "We go together, Colonel." Vic smiles, but it's sad, knowing. "I'm 68, Cass. My war's behind me. Yours is still ahead. Remember what I taught you. Ballistics, fieldcraft, patience. Honor," Vic adds. "When you see corruption, you have two choices. Be silent and complicit, or act and become the enemy. I chose to act 15 years ago. Paid for it with my career. You paid for it with your identity." Cass thinks about that mission. Afghanistan, 2015. The colonel they'd killed wasn't just corrupt. He was selling weapons to insurgents, feeding them intelligence, getting American soldiers killed for profit. Command called the hit unauthorized, called it murder, declared Cass KIA, and forced Vic into retirement with a gag order that came with veiled threats about consequences. "No regrets?" Cass asks. "Only that I didn't do it sooner, only that good people died while I gathered proof that command ignored." Vic puts a hand on Cass's shoulder. "You've got good instincts. Trust them today. Hayes is compromised, willing or not. This mission's wrong, and when it goes wrong, you lead these people out, not me. You." "Colonel, I trained you for 10 years, Cass, taught you everything that matters. Now you prove it wasn't wasted." They gear up in silence. Outside, the Colorado sky hangs low and gray, pressing down like a hand on a throat. The base sits at 7,200 feet, high enough that breath comes thin and wind comes sharp. Cass checks every strap, every buckle, every seal with the methodical precision of someone who knows the difference between life and death is often a single forgotten carabiner or an improperly sealed seam. Her pack carries 60 pounds. Medical kit with tourniquets and hemostatic gauze and chest seals. Extra ammunition. 7.62 millimeter match grade, 60 rounds in stripper clips. Climbing rope rated for 1,000 pounds. Kern mantle construction inspected for frays. Chemical heat packs that stay warm for 8 hours. A spare bolt assembly for the Remington wrapped in oilcloth and sealed in a waterproof bag. She learned long ago that gear doesn't fail because it's old. It fails because you don't maintain it. She pulls the rifle from its case, runs her hands over the stock, feeling for cracks, checking the bedding where the action meets the wood. The metal's cold even inside the climate-controlled building. She works the bolt, feeling the smooth resistance of the lugs engaging. The extractor's clean. The firing pin moves freely. She dry fires once, listening to the click, feeling the trigger break at exactly 3 pounds of pull. Then checks the scope, turns the elevation turret, counts clicks. 16 clicks up from her last 0, because they'll be shooting at altitude, and thin air means less drag on the bullet. The convoy rolls out at 0800. 3 trucks, 16 personnel, climbing into country where trees grow sparse and air cuts like a blade. Hayes rides in the lead vehicle, silent, staring at his phone. The mountains rise through the window, peaks dressed in early snow, clouds pressing down like a fist closing. The road climbs through switchbacks, each turn taking them higher. The air gets thinner. Cass feels her ears pop, feels her breathing change. Altitude's a factor. 7,000 feet now. 8,000. The crash site's at 9,500. The radio hisses. Static. Then a voice. Fragment of transmission. Broken syllables cutting through white noise. Not civilian. Repeat. Not civilian. Hayes lunges for the radio. Kills the volume so fast he almost breaks the knob. The truck goes silent. Everyone heard it. Interference, Hayes says. Too loud. Voice brittle. Storms playing hell with frequencies. Atmospheric distortion. Sullivan frowns from the back seat. Sounded pretty clear to me, Captain. That was a voice. Someone transmitting. Hayes repeats the excuse, but Cass's mind catalogs the moment. Files it next to his shaking hands, next to the encrypted phone, next to a call sign she's never heard. Shepherd. Not civilian. Whatever this mission is, the official brief is a lie. The convoy stops 6 miles from the crash site. Too much snow for vehicles past this point. They'll hike the rest on foot. Hayes gathers them in a loose circle, breath fogging in thin air. Temperature sits at 18 degrees. Wind chill drags it lower. Standard movement, Hayes says. 2-person teams, 50-meter spacing. Merrick, you're with me. Sullivan, take rear. Westfield, you've got Callaway. Keep comms tight. If anyone falls behind, the whole team stops. Nobody gets left. They move into the white. The forest here is old spruce and lodgepole pine, trunks black against snow that lies 3 feet deep in drifts and ankle-high on the crust. The silence is absolute. No birds, no wind yet, just the crunch of boots and the soft hiss of breath. Cass walks point with Callaway trailing 10 meters back. The kid tries to match her pace, but she moves with a rhythm he hasn't learned yet. Weight forward, knees bent, testing each step before committing, feeling for hard pack under powder. She doesn't break through the crust. He does, twice in the first 100 meters. Quiet, she says, not unkind, just fact. Sorry, ma'am, I'm trying to. Don't try, do. Feel the snow. It'll tell you where the crust is strong, where it's weak. You're moving like you're on a parade ground. This isn't concrete. It's alive, changes every hour. He nods, focuses. His next 20 steps are better. The kid's a fast learner. They find the crash site at 1340 hours. The wreckage sits in a natural bowl, surrounded by ridges on 3 sides, sheltered from the worst wind, but exposed from above. The helicopter isn't civilian. It's a Black Hawk, modified, military. The tail boom shows blast damage, not mechanical failure. The kind of damage that comes from an RPG or a missile, not from ice on rotors or engine failure. The fuselage is scorched black, recent enough that Cass can still smell fuel, acrid and sharp in the cold air. No markings, no identification numbers. The military registration plates have been ground off, metal scarred where someone took an angle grinder to the identification, deliberately obliterating any way to trace this bird. Hayes stands at the edge of the debris field, face pale, staring at the wreckage like he's just seen a ghost. "Jesus," he says. "This wasn't in the brief." Sullivan approaches from the left, rifle ready, eyes scanning the tree line for threats. "Captain, this is military. Black Hawk, modified for spec ops. What the hell is it doing up here?" Cass moves past them, steps into the wreckage. The interior's gutted. Fire took most of it, melting plastic and aluminum into grotesque shapes. But the frame's intact enough to read the story. 2 bodies in the cockpit, both pilots, both shot. Execution style, single rounds to the back of the head. Entry wounds visible even through the char. The 3rd body lies in the cargo bay, burned worse than the others. Face down, military flight suit melted into flesh. On the visible hand, a tattoo, faded but readable. 75th Ranger Regiment scroll in tab. Cass crouches beside it. The body's position is wrong. The arms are bound behind the back with zip ties, partially melted but still visible. This man was restrained before he burned. She checks the cargo netting. Empty now, but the wear pattern shows recent weight. Something heavy. Crates, probably. Military issue based on the strap marks. 4 or 5 of them. Gone now. "Westfield," Hayes says behind her. "Report." She stands, turns, looks him in the eye. This was a black operations bird. Pilots were executed. Passenger was restrained and burned post-mortem. Cargo bay was stripped clean. Whatever they were carrying is gone. And someone wanted this to look like an accident. Hayes's face could be carved from stone. "I don't know anything about this." "You're a bad liar, Captain." Cass says it quietly. No heat, just observation. "Your hands have been shaking since the briefing. You've checked that phone a dozen times. You deleted a message before we left. You know something. Maybe not everything, but something." His jaw works. "I'm telling you the truth. The brief I got said civilian helicopter, medical transport. That's all I know." "Then someone lied to you," Cass says. "Question is whether you believe me now." Sullivan steps between them. "We extract and ask questions later. This is above our pay grade." Cass moves to the cargo bay door, points at the ground outside. The snow around the wreckage is disturbed. Boot prints, multiple sets, military patterns. At least 6 people, maybe 8. Fresh enough that the last storm hasn't filled them yet. Calloway examines the prints. At least 6 people. Military boots. They came from the North Ridge. Search the bird, left heading southwest. Cass looks up at that ridge. It sits 800 meters away. A spine of rock and pine that commands the entire bowl. Perfect position for observation. Better position for shooting. She pulls the Remington from its case, works the bolt, scopes the ridge through the loophole. Scans slowly left to right. A glint of glass. Sunlight on optics. Spotter scope. Loophole Mark IV. U.S. military issue. "We're being watched," Cass says quietly. Hayes grabs his radio, keys it with a hand that shakes badly. "Command, this is Shepherd 1. We have a situation at the crash site. Request immediate extraction." The radio squawks, cuts him off. A voice. Not command. Cold. Professional. "Shepherd protocol is active. Secure the package. Eliminate witnesses." The words hang in the frozen air like a death sentence. Sullivan goes rigid. "That's us. We're the witnesses." Hayes stands frozen, radio in hand, face the color of old snow. "Command," he says. "Say again, I need—" "Radio silence," the voice says. Flat, final. "You have your orders, Captain. Execute them, or we execute you." The line goes dead. Calloway looks at Cass, fear raw in his young eyes. Ma'am, what's Shepherd protocol? The gunshot comes from the ridge before she can answer. A flat crack, muffled by distance, absorbed by snow. One of the scouts drops, legs shattered below the knee, femur visible through torn fabric and blood. The scream rips through the silence. Merrick's moving before the echo fades, dragging the wounded man behind the wreckage, hands already opening the trauma kit. Sullivan grabs Hayes's collar, gets in his face. "Captain, orders, now!" Hayes stares at the radio, at the voice that just sentenced them to death. Cass takes 3 steps, grabs Hayes's collar, puts her face inches from his. "Who are they?" she demands. "I don't know." Hayes whispers it. "I swear to God I don't know." "What is Shepherd?" "I don't know. I swear I don't know." She shoves him back, hard enough that he stumbles, turns to Sullivan. "Get everyone behind the wreckage, now. Defensive perimeter. Calloway, you're with me on Overwatch." Sullivan doesn't question, starts moving the team. Another shot. This one hits the wreckage 2 feet from Calloway's head, punching through aluminum like paper. The radio in Hayes's pocket crackles. A new voice. Personal. Familiar. Mocking. "Colonel Brennan, I know you can hear this. My name is Captain Dalton Cross. I'm the man coming to kill you. I'm also the man who's been waiting 20 years to finish what you started when you trained me." Vic's face goes white. Cross continues. "You taught me everything, Colonel. Patience, discipline, how to read wind by watching grass bend, how to wait 6 hours without moving, how to make the first shot count." He pauses. "Now I'm better than you ever were. And Ghost, Cassandra Westfield, you're her protege. This will be poetic. The student killing the teacher." The transmission ends. Vic's voice is steady despite the blood draining from her face. "I trained Dalton Cross at Fort Bragg in 2004. He was gifted, natural talent, but he was ambitious in ways that worried me." Hayes crawls over. "Colonel, we need to move. They'll have us zeroed in minutes." "They already have us zeroed," Vic says. "That first shot was a warning. Hit the scout's leg, not his head. They want us pinned here. Afraid." "Why pin us?" Sullivan asks. "Because they're coming down to finish it up close," Cass says. "They want to verify we're dead, want to search us, want to make sure we don't have whatever was in that cargo bay." Hayes's radio buzzes. "Command, command, we are under fire. Request immediate extraction. Repeat, we are under fire and require—" "No extraction," the cold voice says. "Complete Shepherd protocol. Radio silence. Out." Hayes stares at the radio. "They're not coming." "No," Cass says. "They never were. This was always a one-way trip. For all of us." Calloway's voice cuts through. "Ma'am, I don't understand. Why would they do this? We're on the same side." Cass looks at the burned body, at the empty crates, at the execution-style kills. "Because we're loose ends," she says, "witnesses to something we weren't supposed to see. And the only way to keep a secret this big is to bury everyone who knows it." Sullivan grabs her arm. "What secret?" "It means whoever was on this helicopter was doing something Command couldn't let get out. Moving weapons, maybe, or intelligence, or something worse. And now we've seen the crash site, seen the bodies, seen the evidence. That makes us liabilities." Hayes makes a sound, not quite a word. "You're saying our own people are going to kill us, to keep this quiet?" "Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying." Vic moves beside her. The colonel's wounded shoulder is wrapped tight, but blood seeps through the bandage. "Captain's compromised," Vic says, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Whether he knew it or not, he led us into a kill box. I'm taking operational command." Hayes nods once, steps back. Vic turns to the team. "Rest of you can extract south if you want, but Cross won't let anyone off this mountain. He'll hunt you down one by one. Your only chance is to stay together and fight smart. I'm staying. I'm going to make them pay for every inch of this ground." Sullivan stands. "We don't split the team." Calloway rises. "I'm with the colonel. One by one, the scouts stand. Even Hayes straightens his shoulders. Vic nods, then turns to Cass. Something passes between them. Cassandra, Vic says quietly, you know what needs to happen here. Colonel, I can't. Listen, Vic's voice drops lower. I taught you for 10 years. Ballistics, fieldcraft, patience, everything that matters. But there's one lesson I saved for when it counted most. She grabs Cass's face with her good hand. Leadership isn't about rank. It's about making the hard calls when everyone else freezes. It's about staying human when the situation tries to turn you into a monster. And it's about knowing when to step aside and let the next generation carry the weight. You're not stepping aside. I'm 68 years old with a bullet in my shoulder in 3 hours before I go into shock. I can provide overwatch advice, radio guidance, but I can't lead a tactical movement through a blizzard with hostiles inbound. Vic's eyes hold hers. You can. You will. Cass feels the weight settle onto her shoulders. What's the wind? Vic asks suddenly. The question jolts her. Quartering right, 16 knots, gusting to 24. At 800 meters in this cold? 4.5 mils right, 2.1 up for altitude and air density. Vic smiles, proud, sad. You'll make the shot when it counts. Now move this team to better ground. That's an order, Ghost. Cass turns to the team. We're moving to the ravine 300 meters east. Narrow, defensible. They'll have to funnel in, which reduces their numerical advantage. She points. Sullivan, you and Hayes take point. Merrick, you've got the wounded. Calloway, rear guard with me. We move fast, stay low, and we don't stop for anything. They prep quickly. Merrick and another scout rig the wounded man on a litter. Vic stays with one scout, setting up behind the wreckage. The last exchange happens fast. Cass, Vic says, Colonel, when this is over, you make sure people know the truth. About the colonel we killed in Afghanistan. About why we did it. About the network that's been operating for years while command looked the other way. When this is over, you'll tell them yourself. Vic's smile is gentle, knowing. We'll see, Ghost. We'll see. They move. The terrain is brutal. Snow 3 feet deep in places. Crust breaking under weight. The ravine sits 300 meters away but feels like 3 miles. 200 meters. 100. The ravine opens before them. A cut in the earth, side steep, narrow enough to make shooting difficult from above. They establish defensive positions. Cass chooses a spot where a fallen log creates natural rest for the Remington. Merrick works on the wounded scout. 60 minutes, she says quietly. After that, we lose him. Sullivan settles in beside Cass. You really think we can hold here? I think we make them pay for every meter. Make Cross decide if it's worth the cost. Hayes appears. Westfield, I'm sorry. I should have questioned the brief. Save it, Captain. Right now I need you functional. Can you do that? He nods. What do you need? Coordinate comms. Monitor frequencies. If command tries to reach us, you handle it. If Cross transmits, you record it. We need evidence. Hayes pulls out his encrypted phone, stares at it, then hands it to Cass. Messages from my handler, the one who gave me Shepard protocol. Use it. Prove what they did. The radio crackles, Cross's voice. He's using a loudspeaker. Colonel Brennan, Cassandra Westfield, I know you're listening. Cass keys her radio. We're listening, Cross. 4 years I've been looking for you, Ghost. Brennan was easy. She stayed in the open. Thought her service record would protect her. But you went dark. Smart. Except now you're here. And I finally get to finish what should have ended 15 years ago. 15 years. Afghanistan. The corrupt colonel. Cass makes the connection. You were part of it. The weapons network. That's why you're cleaning up now. Cross laughs. I was 23, fresh Delta. Didn't know what the colonel was doing. But I learned. And when Brennan killed him, she didn't just end one man's operation. She endangered everyone connected to him. everyone who'd profited. So they sent you to tie up loose ends? They sent me to restore order, to protect a system that works, that keeps America strong. By selling weapons to insurgents who kill American soldiers? By doing what's necessary in a complicated world. Vic's voice cuts in from the crash site, transmitted over open channel, weak but clear. Dalton, you were a good student once, smart, capable. I was proud of you until you blocked my advancement. I blocked it because you lacked something essential. Not skill, not courage, but the judgment to know when orders should be questioned, when duty to country supersedes duty to chain of command. And look where that got you, Colonel. Forced retirement, watching your protege become a ghost, dying in the snow because you couldn't leave well enough alone. I'm dying knowing I did the right thing. Can you say the same? Silence. Then, I sleep fine, Colonel. Better than you will. Because winners write history, and I'm going to win today. Movement in the tree line. Cass spots them through the scope. 4 shapes, moving with purpose, tactical spacing. Hold fire, Cass says. They're in range, but this is reconnaissance. Let them probe. Sullivan's finger hovers on his trigger. I can drop 2 before they reach cover. I know, but if you do, Cross knows our exact positions. Better he thinks we're scared. Uncertain. The operators move closer, split into pairs. Classic flanking maneuver. At 100 meters, the lead operator stops, takes cover behind a tree. Cass settles the crosshairs on his position. Not on him, on the tree trunk 6 inches from his head. She squeezes. The Remington cracks. The round hits exactly where she aimed. Bark explodes. The operator jerks back, rolls to new cover. Cass works the bolt, chambers another round, puts the second shot into the other operator's position. Same result. Next to our center mass, she says into the radio. Your call, Cross. Silence. Then the operators withdraw. Sullivan exhales. That was one hell of a gamble. No gamble, Cass says. Cross needed to know what he's dealing with. Now he does. The radio crackles. Cross's voice. Harder now, less amused. Ghost, you just made a mistake. I was offering you an easy death. Professional courtesy. Sniper to sniper. Now it's going to hurt. Now I'm going to make you watch your team die, one by one. And you'll know it's your fault. The line goes dead. Sullivan checks his ammunition. So much for negotiation. Wasn't trying to negotiate, Cass says. Was buying time. She pulls out Hayes' encrypted phone, starts scrolling through messages. Names, dates, coordinates. A network of communications between Hayes and someone identified only as Shepard Actual. For this, she says, evidence. Proof that this goes higher than Cross. Hayes leans over. Jesus Christ. I've been taking orders from them for 3 years. Never questioned it. Who's Shepard Actual? I don't know. Contacted me through encrypted channels. Voice was always masked. His face crumbles. I thought I was serving my country. Vic's voice crackles over the radio, weak now, fading. Cass, storms worsening, visibility dropping. Cross will use it as cover to advance. Acknowledge, Colonel. Can you still provide overwatch? For another hour, maybe 90 minutes. After that, blood loss will make me ineffective. A pause. You need to move before then. Cass studies the terrain. The storm is intensifying. Temperatures drop to 8 degrees. Visibility is collapsing. 50 meters, 40, 30. In another hour, it'll be whiteout conditions. Sullivan, she says, take Hayes, Calloway, and 2 scouts. Circle west through the storm. Get behind Cross's position. When he commits to the ravine assault, you hit him from behind. Sullivan stares. That's... The wounded man stays, Cass says. Merrick stays with him. Makes Cross think the whole team's still here. Sullivan shakes his head. If we leave you, you're alone against 7 hostiles. 6. Anya will hang back on Overwatch. She won't commit to assault. Cass meets his eyes. And I won't be completely alone. Vic's still providing guidance. Calloway speaks up. Ma'am, I should stay with you. You're going with Sullivan. You're not ready for what's coming here. No shame in that. But what happens when Cross hits this position requires experience you don't have yet. She looks at him. You go with the flanking element. You learn. You survive. That's an order. Hayes puts a hand on Calloway's shoulder. She's right, son. The team preps to move. 30 minutes until they move. Storm will be full force then. Cass pulls Sullivan aside. When you hit them, you hit hard. No hesitation. No mercy. These men are executing American soldiers. Sullivan nods. And you? How long can you hold here alone? Long enough. I'm not trying to win. Just trying to slow them down. Give you time to get in position. What if it goes wrong? She looks at the Remington. 40 years old. Still working when everything else fails. Then I do what Vic taught me. I make the first shot count. And the second. And the third. And I keep shooting until they're dead or I am. Sullivan grips her shoulder. Then he's moving, taking Hayes and Calloway and 2 scouts, disappearing into the storm. Cass settles behind the fallen log. Alone now except for Merrick and the dying scout. She chambers around, checks the scope. The radio crackles. Cross again. Ghost, I'm giving you one last chance. Walk out, hands up, rifle down. Tell me where the package is, and I'll make it quick. Cass keys the mic. Come and get me, Cross. Let's see how good you really are. His response is immediate. Muzzle flashes in the storm. Suppressed fire. Rounds hit the ravine wall, the fallen log, the snow around her position. She returns fire. 3 shots, spaced, deliberate, not aiming to kill, aiming to make them think she's alone and defending desperately. It works. The fire intensifies. Cross is committing. Somewhere behind his position, Sullivan's team is moving through the storm. A new voice cuts through the radio. Female, Russian accent, cold. Ghost. Impressive display earlier. Standing in the open, calling my bluff. Colonel Brennan trained you well. Anya, the sniper who killed Vic. Cass doesn't respond, just scans the tree line, looking for any hint of position. Nothing. Anya's good. I want you to know something, Anya continues. When I shot the colonel, she was on the radio. Last words I heard through my scope's audio pickup. Cass is clear. Ghost is safe. She died believing you survived. I gave her that mercy before I fired. The words land like a fist. Cass's grip tightens on the Remington. You want me angry, Cass says finally. Want me to rush your position. Make a mistake. I want you to understand what you're facing. I am better than Brennan was. Better than you. When Cross says kill, you die. Until then, you suffer. This is the game. And I am very good at games. The line goes dead. Merrick crawls over. Don't let her in your head. That's the whole point. I know. Do you? Because I've seen this before. Iraq. Fallujah. Sniper pinned us for 6 hours. Killed 2 of my guys. Whole time he's on loudspeaker. What happened? I stopped listening. Focused on keeping my people alive. Sniper got bored. Made a mistake. My guys dropped him. Merrick's eyes are steady. You can't let Anya make you stupid. That's how you honor Brennan, not by dying the same way she did. Cass nods. Anya is good. Maybe better than Vic was. But angry shooters are dead shooters. The storm reaches full force. Wind screams through the ravine. Snow falls so thick that visibility drops to 20 meters. Everyone's effectively blind now, which means movement is possible. Cass makes a decision, the same one Vic made 15 years ago in Afghanistan. Sometimes the only way to survive is to stop running and start hunting. She keys the radio, Sullivan's frequency. Sullivan, status. In position, West Ridge, I count 3 hostiles. Cross's rear guard, 2 operators and Cross himself. Hold for my signal. What signal? You'll know it when you hear it. She turns to Merrick. How long on the wounded? 30 minutes, maybe less. Keep him comfortable, that's your only job. Merrick checks her sidearm. I'll handle it. Cass pulls 3 chemical light sticks from her pack, cracks them, tosses them 20 meters to the left. Rifle shots immediately. Dead center on each light. Anya showing off. But she's also revealing her firing pattern. The angle of trajectory, the timing of response. Anya's position, northeast ridge, 420 meters. Cass climbs out of the ravine, uses the storm as cover, moves fast, low, quiet, headed northeast toward the ridge where a Russian sniper waits to kill her. The world is white noise, wind, snow, cold that cuts through every layer. Cass navigates by feel. Compass check every 50 meters. Counting steps. 400 meters. 300. 200. She stops. Listens. Underneath the wind, she hears something else. A voice. Faint. Russian. Anya on comms. Cass moves closer. 150 meters. 100. The trees open into a small clearing. Natural firing position. Anya lies prone on a tarp. Rifle steady on bipod. Thermal scope glowing faintly. She's watching the ravine, waiting for Cass to reappear, waiting for the kill shot. Cass raises the Remington, settles into position behind a tree, puts crosshairs on Anya's back. Easy shot, 200 meters, limited wind. Anya's not wearing plates. Center mass would do it. Her finger touches the trigger. Vic's voice surfaces, a training memory. The colonel's hand on young Cass's shoulder after her first confirmed kill. Never forget why you pulled that trigger. Purpose matters more than the shot. Cass waits. Anya shifts, speaks into her radio. Cross, target not in ravine. She's mobile. Repeat, Ghost is on the move. Cross's response crackles back. Find her, now. Sullivan's team is flanking. We're about to be in crossfire. I need her down. Understood. Relocating. Anya stands, starts packing her rifle. Fast, professional. Cass lowers the Remington, steps into the clearing. Anya! The woman spins, reflexes like a snake, hand going for sidearm. Cass's rifle is already up. Don't. Anya freezes. She's young, mid-30s, dark hair pulled back tight, hard eyes, scars on her hands. Ghost, Anya says. Doesn't sound surprised, just calculating. You are better than I thought. You killed Colonel Brennan. Yes. Why? Cross paid me $200,000, half up front, half when I confirmed kill. That's not a reason, that's a price. Anya's hand moves slightly toward the pistol. Cass fires, not at Anya, at the sidearm. The round takes the gun clean out of the holster. Anya jerks back, hand bleeding from fragments. Next one's your chest, Cass says. Talk. Anya cradles her bleeding hand. She smiles, cold, amused. You should have taken first shot. Now you have problem. I have the rifle. You have a bleeding hand. Your problem is time. Cross knows you are here. He is coming. And when he arrives, we both die unless you let me go. Why would I do that? Because I have information you need. About the network. About who Cross works for. About why Brennan really died. Cass's finger tightens on trigger. You're lying. I am not. I am contractor. I do not have loyalty to Cross. I have prices. And right now, price of my information is my life. Fair trade. Talk first, then we negotiate. Anya's smile widens. No, I walk away. Then I send you files, encrypted, untraceable. Everything Brennan was investigating before she died. Everything Cross is trying to bury. You get truth. I get to live. Everyone wins. Except I have no reason to trust you. You have every reason. Because if Cross catches us both here, he kills us both. Me for failing, you for existing. We are both loose ends to him. The enemy of my enemy, yes? Cass studies her, looks for the lie, sees calculation instead. How do I know you have the information? Because I took it from crash site before Cross arrived. The package everyone is looking for. Anya's eyes glitter. I have it. Hard drive, encrypted. Financial records, weapons transactions, communication logs, everything. Cass's blood goes cold. You took it. I am opportunist. I saw crash. I arrived first. I took what I needed for insurance. Cross is dangerous employer. I wanted leverage if he decided not to pay. He doesn't know you have it. Not yet. He thinks it burned in crash. When he realizes I took it, he will hunt me, unless I disappear very quickly. Why tell me this? Because you are going to kill Cross. And when Cross is dead, people protecting him will need new scapegoat. Better they chase dead man than living woman. I give you evidence. You use it. I disappear. Fair trade. Sullivan's voice crackles over radio. Ghost, we're in position. Cross moving toward your last location. ETA 5 minutes. What's status? Cass keeps eyes on Anya. Makes a decision that Vic would probably hate, but might understand. Change of plans. Do not engage Cross. Repeat, hold position. Do not engage. What's happening? I'll explain later. Just hold. She looks at Anya. You walk. You send me the files within 24 hours. If you don't, I hunt you. And I'm better at hunting than Cross is. Anya nods. You will have files. I promise this. How do I contact you? You don't. I contact you when it is safe. Anya picks up rifle with good hand, starts backing away. One more thing, Ghost. Cross did not kill Brennan alone. There was someone else. Someone who gave order. Someone very high up. Files will tell you who. Use them well. She disappears into storm. Cass stands alone in clearing. She let Vic's killer walk. For information. For evidence. For the chance to expose something bigger than revenge. She keys radio. Sullivan, Rally Point Bravo. Move now. We're extracting. What about Cross? Let him chase ghosts. We have what we need. Move. She starts walking back toward ravine. Behind her in the distance, she hears Cross's voice, screaming orders, realizing Ghost is gone. The storm swallows the sound. 2 hours later, they find the logging road. Hayes pulls out a satellite phone, dials a number, speaks in code. When he hangs up, he looks at the team. Extraction in 3 hours. Federal agents. Inspector General's office. They'll take us into protective custody. Sullivan's voice is flat. Custody. Like prisoners. Like witnesses, Hayes corrects. We testify. Cross goes down. The network goes down. We get immunity. Cass looks at him, sees the hope there. Who's the contact? She asks. Agent Reese Torres, FBI. She's been investigating military corruption for 2 years. She's clean, or as clean as anyone gets in this business. You trust her? Hayes meets her eyes. I trust that she wants Cross as badly as we do, that she's lost people to this network, that she has her own reasons to see it burn. It's not the answer Cass wanted, but it's honest. 3 hours later, they're in a federal convoy, warm, fed, safe for the first time in 18 hours. Cass sits in the back, Remington across her lap, watching the tree line pass. Cross's voice comes over the radio one last time, transmitted on open frequency, desperate, angry. Ghost, this isn't over. I will find you, and I will finish what I started. Cass doesn't respond, just checks her rifle, prepares for what comes next. The safe house sits in the mountains outside Denver. 3 stories of stone and bulletproof glass. Federal agents rotating shifts every 6 hours. Cass doesn't sleep the first night, or the second. She sits by the window with the Remington across her lap, watching the tree line. Cross's voice echoes every 12 hours. Same threat. Cass doesn't listen anymore. On the third day, Agent Reese Torres comes to Cass's room. The federal agent looks like she hasn't slept either. "We need to talk," Torres says. They sit in the briefing room. Hayes is there, Sullivan, Calloway, Merrick. Torres pulls up a screen on the wall. Photos appear. Officers in uniform, civilians in expensive suits. 14 faces total. "Anya's files are solid," Torres says. "We verified the transactions, cross-referenced with classified shipping manifests. It's all there. Weapons sales, kickbacks, shell companies in Panama, Cayman Islands, Dubai. These 14 officers have been running an illegal arms network for 8 years. Total value exceeds $380 million. Hayes leans forward. $380 million. Stinger missiles, M4 rifles, night vision equipment, body armor, grenades, all sold to highest bidder. Some went to allies we wanted armed. Most went to people we're actively fighting. Taliban, Al-Qaeda affiliates, African warlords, anyone with cash." Sullivan's voice is flat. "And command knew." Torres hesitates. "Some of them were command." The room goes silent. 2 of the 14 are active duty colonels, Torres continues. One is a retired major general, now working as defense contractor. The network protected itself by putting people in positions of oversight. When investigations started, they killed them from inside. Cass looks at the photos. "Where's Cross?" "In the wind. We raided his base in Montana 52 hours ago. Empty. He cleared out 8 hours before we arrived. Someone tipped him." "Someone on your team," Cass says. Torres meets her eyes. "We're investigating that possibility." "Don't investigate, accept it. Cross has had protection for 8 years. That doesn't disappear because you have evidence. The network's deeper than 14 officers." "I know," Torres says quietly. "That's why I'm here." Hayes speaks up. "What about General Preston Aldridge? He was on Brennan's original list 15 years ago." Torres pulls up another photo. 3 stars, hard face, eyes like ice. General Preston Aldridge retired 7 months ago. Took a job with Apex Strategic Solutions. Defense contractor, $65 million signing bonus for 5-year consulting contract. "That's a payoff," Sullivan says. "We can't prove it yet, but timing's extremely suspicious." Aldridge retired 1 month after Senate Armed Services Committee started investigating weapons accountability. He landed the contractor job 1 week later. The company that hired him has shell companies connected to 3 of the 14 officers. Cass studies Aldridge's face. "He gave the order to kill Colonel Brennan, to activate Shepard Protocol. He's at the top of the network. Cross is just the weapon. Aldridge is the hand holding it." "Can you prove that?" Torres asks. "No, but Anya can. Her files have communication logs. If Aldridge gave orders to Cross, there's a paper trail." Torres shakes her head. "Anya's testimony is limited. She's a foreign national contractor with questionable legal status. A defense attorney would tear her apart on the stand. And the files she sent are encrypted with military-grade algorithms. Our tech team says it could take months to crack them, maybe years." "Then get her to decrypt them," Hayes says. "We don't know where she is. She disappeared the same day she sent the files. No credit card usage, no phone activity, no border crossings we can track. She's a professional. She knows how to vanish." "So Cross gets away," Cass says, "and Aldridge retires rich, and the network keeps operating." "No," Torres says. Voice has an edge now. "Cross doesn't get away. We're going to find him. We're going to prosecute him and everyone connected to him. But it takes time. Legal process, evidence chains. We can't just arrest a sitting general without ironclad proof." "How long?" Cass asks. Torres blinks. "What? How long do we stay here? In protective custody? A week? A month? A year? Cross isn't going to surface if he knows we're waiting for him. He'll bide his time. Plan. Prepare. Strike when we're vulnerable. You know that." Torres stands, walks to window. We're working on a timeline. There is no timeline, Cass says. Cross's timeline is when he decides. Not when you're ready, not when it's convenient for your legal process. Torres turns from window. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we don't wait. We draw him out. We force his hand. Hayes's chair scrapes as he stands. Absolutely not. It's the only way. You're talking about using yourself as bait. That's not tactics. That's suicide. It's strategy. Cross wants me dead more than anything. Give him the opportunity, but on our terms. Controlled environment, overwatch, backup. We turn his obsession into his weakness. Torres crosses her arms. The Bureau doesn't conduct bait operations with civilian witnesses. Policy is clear on that. I'm not a civilian. I'm a military contractor, former Marine Scout sniper, and I'm volunteering. Volunteer all you want. The answer is still no. My director won't authorize it. Too much liability, too much risk. If you die, it becomes a scandal. Cass looks at her. Cross killed my mentor 4 years ago, executed her while she was calling for extraction. He's killed how many others since then? How many more will he kill while you're building your case? While you're worried about headlines? Torres's jaw tightens. You think I don't know that? You think I don't want to stop him? I've been investigating this network for 2 years. I've watched good people die, watched evidence disappear, watched witnesses recant testimony after their families were threatened. I want Cross in a cell more than you do. Then let me help you put him there. By getting yourself killed, that doesn't help anyone. I don't plan on dying. I plan on winning. There's a difference. Torres takes a long breath. I'll run it up the chain, present the option, but don't expect approval. My director is risk-averse. He won't sign off on this. What if I do it anyway? Cass asks, with or without Bureau approval. What if I just walk out that door and set myself up as bait? Torres's eyes go cold. Then you're in violation of protective custody terms. We can't help you. If Cross kills you, that's on you. I've been on my own for 4 years. I'll manage. Hayes stands. I'm going with her. Torres stares at him. Captain Hayes, you can't be serious. I brought her into this. I'm seeing it through. Sullivan stands. Make it 3. Calloway stands. 4. Merrick stands last. 5. Torres looks at them. At 5 people willing to walk into fire because they believe it's right. She pulls out her phone, makes a call, walks into the hall. They hear her voice, muffled, arguing. Finally, silence. She comes back 5 minutes later. Her face is stone. My director said no, absolutely not. No Bureau involvement, no official sanction, no support. She pauses, sets her phone on the table. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to step outside this room for 20 minutes. While I'm gone, you're going to steal some equipment from the evidence locker. Weapons, tactical gear, surveillance equipment. You're going to take it and leave. Torres's eyes hold Cass's. Something passes between them. When I come back, I'm going to discover you escaped protective custody. I'm going to file a report, launch an investigation, and I'm going to be absolutely shocked that you overpowered trained federal agents and disappeared. She pulls a tablet from her bag, sets it on the table. But before that security failure happens, I'm going to accidentally leave this tablet here. It has real-time tracking on Cross's known associates, cell tower intercepts, financial transaction alerts, anything that might help you find him. Hayes frowns. Why? Torres meets his eyes. Because I joined this bureau to stop people like Cross, to protect people who can't protect themselves. But the system I joined is compromised. My director cares more about political optics than justice. And I'm tired of watching guilty men walk free because the process protects them. She picks up her phone, starts walking to the door. So I'm doing what Brennan did, what you did. I'm choosing to act instead of being complicit. She stops at the door, looks back. 20 minutes. After that, I call this in. Use the time well. She leaves. Hayes reaches for the tablet first, pulls up Cross's file. Last known location, Red Lodge, Montana, small town, population 5,000. He has a safe house there, registered under a shell company. Torres can't raid it without a warrant. But we're not federal agents, Sullivan says. Cass takes the tablet. How old is this? 3 days, but his financial activity suggests he's still in area. Cash withdrawals, supply purchases. He's preparing for something. Or waiting, Cass says, for us. They gear up fast, find their weapons in the evidence locker, tactical vests, night vision. Torres comes back at exactly 20 minutes, finds the room empty. She calls it in, reports the escape. Sounds appropriately shocked. Then she sits down, pulls up Cross's file on her computer, and starts building a case that will survive a courtroom. They drive for 7 hours, Hayes at the wheel, Sullivan riding shotgun, Cass in back with Calloway, going over the plan. We get to Red Lodge, we recon first, she says. No contact, no engagement. We confirm Cross's location. We identify his defensive positions. We set the trap. Then we call him out. How do we call him out? Calloway asks. We give him what he wants. Me. Alone. Exposed. But on ground we prepared. With you in Overwatch. Calloway looks uncomfortable. Ma'am, after the mountain, after that shot I took, I'm not sure I'm ready for... That shot saved my life. 420 meters through a blizzard. That's not luck. That's skill. Colonel Brennan would have been proud. I was scared the whole time. My hands were shaking. Fear doesn't matter. The shot mattered. You made it when it counted. That's the only thing that matters in this work. They reach Red Lodge as sun sets. Small town, quiet, streets empty. Hayes finds a motel on the edge of town, pays cash. They unload gear quickly. Cass sets up a command post, spreads maps on the bed. Satellite photos from Torres's tablet. Cross's safe house is 10 miles north. Isolated, defensible. He chose well, Hayes says. He's professional, Cass agrees. She traces access routes. One road in, one road out. But there's high ground here. She points to a ridge overlooking the house. If we position there, we control the approach. Sullivan frowns. I thought you wanted to be bait. I do, but the bait has to be believable. If I just stand in a clearing waiting, he'll know it's a trap. But if I come to his house, alone, rifle in hand, looking for a fight, that's personal. That's a challenge a man like Cross can't ignore. They move at midnight. Hayes stays at the motel. Sullivan takes position half a mile from the safe house. Cass and Calloway climb to the ridge. The climb takes an hour. Calloway keeps pace better this time. At the top, they find position. Good cover. Clear sightline to the house below. 438 meters. Cass sets up the Remington. Calloway glasses the house. Lights on. I see movement. 2 people, maybe 3. Cross and who else? Can't tell, windows tinted. Cass checks her watch. 02:20 hours. We wait, watch his pattern, then we make our move. At 04:45, the front door opens. A figure steps out. Male, 6 feet, military bearing, Cross. He stands on the porch, looks around, testing the night. He knows we're here, Calloway whispers. Maybe, or he's just careful. They watch Cross stand on the porch for 10 minutes. Then he goes back inside. Now what? Calloway asks. Now I go down there, alone. Ma'am, this is insane. Torres's intel said 2 people, Cross and one other. Probably isn't certain. Nothing's certain in this work, but I'm going anyway. She checks the Remington, hands it to Calloway. He stares at it. This is Colonel Brennan's rifle. It's yours now. If I'm not back in 30 minutes, you take the shot. Cross comes out, you drop him. Don't wait for my signal. Don't hesitate. You shoot center mass, and you keep shooting until he stops moving. Ma'am, I've only killed one person. You'll kill a second tonight if you have to. That's the job. That's what Brennan taught me. That's what I'm teaching you. She hands him the rifle, the weight of it, the history of it. This rifle carries 40 years of history, Vic's legacy, every mission, every shot, every life saved. That's what you're holding. What does it protect tonight? The truth about what happened on that mountain, about the network, about people who sold out their country for profit. You make sure that truth survives, even if I don't. She starts down the ridge. Calloway calls after her. Ma'am, Cassandra, come back alive, please. She doesn't answer, just keeps walking. The approach takes 20 minutes, down the ridge, through timber, across an open field that leaves her exposed for 200 meters. If Cross is watching through a scope, this is his chance. He doesn't take it. She reaches the house, stands in front of the door, knocks. No answer. She knocks again. Harder. The door opens. Cross stands there, rifle in hands, pointed at her chest. He smiles. Ghost, I knew you'd come. Cross, we need to talk. About what? About Brennan? About what really happened 15 years ago? His smile widens. Come inside. We'll talk like professionals, sniper to sniper. She follows him in. The house is small. One large room, kitchen in corner, table, 2 chairs, and Anya sitting in one of them. Cass's hand goes to her sidearm. Don't, Cross says. The rifle stays on her chest. Anya's not your enemy anymore, are you, Anya? Anya looks at Cass. No smile, just exhaustion. No, she says quietly. Cass's mind races. You're supposed to be in federal custody. She was, Cross says. Then I found her, made her an offer she couldn't refuse. His smile is ugly. Network has people everywhere, Ghost, even in Torres's unit. Someone who made a phone call, someone who unlocked a door, someone who looked the other way for 10 seconds. That's how we survive, not by being stronger, by being everywhere. Anya speaks, voice flat. Cross offered $2.1 million in new identity. Federal government offered jail cell and deportation. Easy choice. You agreed to this? Cass asks. I agreed to survive, same as you would. Cross gestures with the rifle. Sit down, Ghost. Let's talk about how this ends. Cass doesn't move. How does it end, Cross? Simple. You die. Anya testifies you attacked me in my home. Self-defense. Case closed. Investigation into weapons network stalls because their star witness is dead and their evidence is questionable. I get new identity and very comfortable retirement. Aldridge keeps his consulting contract. Network stays intact. Except me. You were always going to die. Brennan made sure of that when she killed Colonel Marsh 15 years ago. You just prolonged it. I'm ending what should have ended on that ridge in Afghanistan. Through the window, Cass sees Calloway on the ridge, sees him settling behind the Remington. She needs Cross to move, needs him to turn away from her. You made a mistake, she says. Cross's smile falters. What mistake? You assumed I came alone. Bluff. Check your 6. Cross starts to turn, too slow. The window explodes. Calloway's shot, not perfect, still learning, but good enough. Catches Cross in the shoulder. He drops the rifle, screams, blood sprays. Anya moves fast, dives for cover. Cass draws her sidearm, puts 2 rounds into the wall where Anya was. Suppression. Cross scrambles for his rifle with his good hand. Cass kicks it away, puts her gun to his head. Move and you die. He freezes. Blood pours from his shoulder, face twisted in pain and rage. Calloway's voice over radio, shaking. Ghost, you good? Good. Hold position. Cover the exits. Hayes's voice. Sullivan's moving in. ETA, 2 minutes. Cross looks up at her, blood running down his arm. You can't kill me. Torres needs me to testify, to roll on Aldridge. I'm the key to the whole case. You think I care about Torres's case? You should, because without me, Aldridge walks. Network survives. Everything Brennan died for means nothing. Cass's finger rests on the trigger. 1 pound of pressure. Cross dead. 4 years of hunting over. But Vic's voice in her head. Not the lesson about asking why, a different memory. Vic's hand on her shoulder. We don't become the monsters we fight. We stay human even when it costs us. This isn't survival. Cross is disarmed, wounded, finished. This is revenge. And revenge makes you the same as the people you hunt. She lowers the gun. Because Brennan wouldn't, she says. Because she taught me we don't become the monsters we fight. We stay human. We stay clean, even when it costs us. Cross laughs, bitter, pained. Brennan was a fool. She could have walked away, could have ignored the corruption. Instead, she died for nothing, for principle. She died for the truth, Cass says, which is more than you'll ever understand. Sullivan bursts through the door, rifle up, sees Cross on the ground. We good? We're good. Secure him, zip ties, tourniquet for the shoulder. He lives to stand trial. Sullivan moves fast. Cross tries to resist. Sullivan puts a knee in his back. Hayes comes in next, pulls out his sat phone. Torres, we have Cross, alive, wounded but stable. Torres's voice comes back, surprised. You actually got him? We got him, and he's talking already, trying to cut a deal. You're going to want to hear this. On our way, ETA 40 minutes. Don't let him bleed out. We need him alive. Cass looks around. Where's Anya? Sullivan checks the back room. Empty, window open. She ran. Fresh tracks heading into trees. Let her go, Cass says. She's not the mission. Cross is. Torres arrives with a team. 6 agents. Ambulance. They take Cross into custody. Load him into the ambulance under guard. Torres looks at Cass. You were supposed to wait for approval. I don't wait well. Clearly. Torres pulls out a recorder. Cross started dealing before we even got him in the ambulance, offering names, including General Aldridge. Will it stick? With Anya's testimony and the evidence on those hard drives? Yes. If we can crack the encryption, Aldridge is going down. So are the others. This network is finished. What about Brennan? Torres hands her a folder. Official letterhead. Presidential seal. Posthumous Medal of Honor. Full restoration of rank and honors. Her name gets cleared officially. It'll be announced next week. Medal ceremony at Arlington. You should be there. Cass takes the folder, opens it, sees Vic's name, sees the commendation. 4 years of carrying guilt. 4 years of running. 4 years of believing Vic died in disgrace. All of it washed away by words on paper. Thank you, Cass says quietly. Don't thank me, thank yourself. You're the one who wouldn't let it go. 3 weeks later, Arlington National Cemetery, Section 60, Row 17, Plot 4. Colonel Victoria Brennan's new headstone, white marble, clean, engraved with her rank, her dates of service, her commendations, and one word at the bottom that changes everything. Patriot. Cass stands before it, the Remington in her hands. 40 years of war carried in wood and steel. She places it against the headstone, leaves it there, steps back. You were right about everything, she says to the stone, to the woman buried beneath. The corruption, the network, the cost of doing what's right. You were right, and I was wrong to doubt you. I'm sorry it took 4 years to prove it. I'm sorry you died thinking the world believed you were a traitor. The wind blows cold across the cemetery. Bare trees, gray sky, the silence of thousands of graves. Anya told me your last words, Colonel. Cass is clear, Ghost is safe. You died believing that, died thinking I made it out clean. Cass's throat tightens. You were right to believe. I am safe, because you taught me to survive more than just bullets. You taught me to survive with honor intact. She touches the headstone. The marble is cold under her palm. Solid. Permanent. This isn't goodbye, it's a promise. Everything you stood for, the honor, the duty, the refusal to look away from corruption, I'm carrying that forward. You're not dead, Colonel. You're just fighting through me now. She turns to leave, stops, looks back at the stone. I left the rifle because it's yours. Always was, but I'm keeping the lessons. Everything you taught me about honor, about duty, about staying human when the world tries to make you a monster. I'm keeping all of that, and I'm passing it forward, to Calloway, to others. Your legacy doesn't end with your death. She walks to the gate. Calloway is waiting. Hayes, Sullivan, Merrick, her team, her family now. Where to? Hayes asks. Cass looks at them. Wherever we're needed. Hayes smiles. I know a guy, former Delta, runs a private security firm, looking for skilled contractors, pays well, legal work, mostly. Sounds perfect. When do we start? Whenever you're ready. She looks back at the cemetery, at Vic's grave, at the rifle standing against white marble like a sentinel. I'm ready. They get in the car, drive away from the past, toward whatever comes next. On a ridge overlooking Arlington, a figure watches through binoculars. Female, dark hair, expensive coat. Anya lowers the binoculars, pulls out a phone, sends a text. Target moving on, joining contractor firm, Hayes leading. What are your orders? The response comes 30 seconds later. Observe only, do not engage. She proved useful eliminating Cross. She may prove useful again. Network lost Cross, lost 14 officers, lost Aldridge. But Network is larger than any individual. We adapt, we survive, we continue. When time comes, we will collect what we're owed. Until then, let her believe she won. Anya puts the phone away, looks at Cass's car disappearing into traffic, smiles. Cross is gone. Aldridge will fall. 14 officers will face courts-martial. But the network has been operating for 30 years. Cross's cell was one of 7. Aldridge was one of 3 generals. The 14 officers are replaceable. The arms trade will continue, just with different faces, different names, different shell companies. The network always survives because the network isn't about individuals. It's about systems, about money, about power, about the eternal truth that someone will always profit from war. Cross was sloppy. Aldridge was arrogant. They allowed themselves to be traced. The network will learn from their mistakes, will be more careful, more patient, and when the time comes to collect, they'll do it right. Cassandra Westfield drives into the sunset with her team. Free, clear, alive. Vic's name restored, Cross captured, network exposed. She thinks she won. For now, that's enough. The storm has passed. But winter always comes back. And when it does, the network will be ready. Because the network is older than any of them know.